So I'm taking some time to put in a few pieces of drywall, which is permitted per my request to the county. They said I could anyway. And it's just gonna make this mechanical closet a whole lot easier. So we only have a couple to put in, and then we should be able to start getting the equipment secured and in place. And it will be interesting to see because it's gonna start, the first part of closing the space off. It'll be very, very different. I am using a drywall screwdriver and drywall screws, and I'd love to use the Cull, but they are still a lot more expensive, and I'm not prepared to spend that much money on them right now. And I have a whole bucket of these screws left over from when we did the finish area in our shop, so I might as well use them on this project. One nice thing about this particular driver is this is going to give me my 8-inch spacing, I believe, pretty much on the button right off the bat. And if I'm a little bit less than 8 inches, I'm okay with that. Now, if I were smart, which I'm only occasionally smart, not always smart, what I will typically do before I go to do drywall is I'll come along the floor and I will mark where the studs are going to be before this drywall goes on. And then that way, this is a whole lot easier. I can just drop this line and then put in my screws and away you go. I had to try and measure because I forgot to do that this time, but that is one thing that I will typically do, and I really like doing that. So there's a number of options when you're framing your walls as to how to deal with interior walls that are perpendicular and coming into, as you see over here, a exterior wall. And the goal is to provide a sturdy surface for drywall attachment without causing problems on the insulation. Now, if you put a 2x6, for example, behind a 2x4, which this wall is a 2x4, so a 2x6 would have worked. That will compress the insulation by 1.5 inches, and it is greater than required for solid attachment of drywall. They do make little flaps, clips, I think they call them, that you can use. I'm not a huge fan of those, but they do work. Essentially, you put the sheet that's on the clips first, and then you put the perpendicular sheet butted up against it, and that holds it in place and gives it a nice end. What we're doing here is we're using Cull lumber from one of the big box stores. I got, $400 worth of lumber sometime back for about $80 or something like that. And this is a 1x6, I believe, and it gives plenty of space for a screw. It's about 1 inch on either side. It's perfect, really. It's a full 3/4 plus, might be 7/8. And it's plenty of space while minimally compressing the insulation. Now, I've got my clamps on this, and that's because it's Cull lumber, and that means it had problems. In this case, they're warped. And so as I run this down or up this stud, I've attached this, fairly often with some screws, non-structural. I'm not worried about that, just basically some decking screws, exterior grade decking screws. And what I'm doing here is I'm essentially just clamping it really good, and then the screw sucks the board in. And you're trying to shoot for a screw that fully goes into like the same depth or slightly past whatever you're shooting behind. So I'm doing a 2.5 inch screw here. This up here is a little problem, and I've got to correct this before I can secure the next sheet of drywall. You might be able to see this board, this stud, is slightly out from this wall. So I've got to make this move back that way to match. Otherwise, this drywall is going to be lifted off of this stud or crack right along that space when it comes up to here. ended up with a nastiness piece right here. So it's in my mechanical closet. I'll probably just mud it and call it a day. Good to know here versus somewhere else, but I'll give this another try. So this is the last section that I really wanted to get done, but I'm going to be cutting up that sheet anyway for a small piece. And you can tell I actually have to put something, loosen that wire and put something to kind of back this, which is not a big deal. But I will have to do that beforehand. And it's not going to be a full 2x of some kind because I've already got that piece in there. I don't really want to move it either. A little bit of a sliver behind that side there. Not bad. Got to get that braced behind. You can see there's no screws in it yet, but otherwise that's good to go. And then I've secured this with 2 lonely screws, and that will help me enable me to be able to get the exact cutout here and make sure that's going to work before I actually cut into the floor there. And then I'm thinking the inspector will probably accept a picture, but I don't know for sure. I may do it and ask for forgiveness because, as I said before, you've got your return, airdrop, your base, and then one that goes down pretty much right in that space. And I don't want to have to take it all apart again. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to do pictures. They should still be able to see the insulation above. And obviously that means I have to wait to do that part until the insulation arrives, which is supposed to be early January. On the other hand, if I really wanted, I could go and pick up 1 or 2 of those pieces from the store ahead of time and have them mark them for me, because they're just waiting on the SOS special order material, and that would enable me to just put that in and then move on. But I can't put the HVAC in anyway until it gets to Home Depot, and they are having a heck of a time actually getting it to the store. They keep saying, oh, it's updated now, it's supposed to be here on Monday, and this will be the 3rd Monday, I think, that they've said that. So this time I'm going to make sure that they actually have it figured out, because I ordered it with plenty of time, and now I'm at the point where I'm going to be needing it. Like, I could use it now. And that's just, there's a larger size, not an 8x14, but an 8x16 that goes right down through that space, and it hasn't arrived yet. And I need that extra airflow because we're just serving more capacity on this first floor than an 8x14 will support. The other thing we went ahead and got while we were in town the other day is this 2-inch foam board. And I probably could have gone with 1.5, but I wanted to be able to use any scraps that are left over from the project I'm using it for somewhere else. Cutting my 25x25 first square, or at least cutting the outline, I should say. Run this down. Yeah, it came out okay. So I'm not going to say that's great, but workable. What we're doing with this is we're going to use this to cover a HVAC box over here. Will not say fantastically well. So that's pretty much ready for me to get that glued up and or taped up. You can see I had to split this end quite a bit to get around those 2 pieces because I didn't do those first. That's all right. It will seal just fine. And the whole point of this is to achieve a greater protection value for these materials. They're going to require me to wrap all these ducts and this with a R19, an R19 blanket. And that's in addition to whatever, the flex duct already has, which is an R8. And that's just what code is in my area now. And this is a way for me to try and help make sure that box, which is the only major thing that isn't already blanketed underneath, is well protected and well insulated. This is a bit of a concern because it's not deep enough, so I may have to add an elbow to that or some kind of small extension to where you can get a better grip with the flex duct, because that's just not enough for a flex duct connection. This is what's left over after having built that box, a little bit less than half. Little tiny scrap there, little tiny scrap there. And this will actually help me in a number of different ways that I can use this. So first, all around the perimeter, there needs to be some of this layered in order to give me sufficient insulation. This joint here between the outside board and the outside board, that's going to be a difficult one to try and do that on. So I may end up omitting it there and just seeing what they say, or putting it in, and then it's just going to be kind of stuffed. But it's got to go up against that outside rim joist, all along there, in the floor, up in the attic, wherever there's that rim joist situation, so that when you lose that 1.5 inches of board, you can see we're at 5.5 inches of depth, but then you go up there, that's on top of this board, so you lose that 1.5, and having a compressed R10 in 2 inches should help get the achieved depth that you're looking for. And additionally, you'll notice that these beams here, they're all pretty much 3.5s. There's 2 that are not, and technically speaking, in Oregon, they're not required to be 3.5s instead of 5.5s. It is an energy saving measure, and the 2 that we got at 5.5, I am not changing right now at this point. They're just going to have to accept that. Oregon does not yet require it, is what they told me. Washington does. So it's a best practice, but not yet required. So I can fill that extra 2 inches in with that foam board. And then obviously you just need to make sure that when you put in any fasteners into those above windows and doors, that you have sufficient depth of grab. So we're going to be making a smaller than originally anticipated shower in this space. That's going to end up getting moved. It's going to be a center shower drain. And I'll have to patch that in. And that's partly just because of changing desires and needs about this space. We're going to be putting in a vent down here instead of trying to make one work way back in here where so much is going on. And right now I've already got the first board nailed down, and the second board I'm going to attach up. So I've just got this laser line to perfectly give me exactly where it needs to be up here on that wall, and then I should be able to also get the other side and then attach that board on the top, and then I'm going to measure in between to get my studs. Laser is also telling me that this wall is nice and plumb because I butted that, just simply measured the same 35.25 out, but you can see that line is pretty much correct right there at the bottom. The board is bowed this way, but you get up towards the top, it's right on that bevel. So we're in good shape there. Boy, it's starting to feel like it's a real house out in here. I've got heat, not much, but enough to keep, feet warm. We've got a little table, some chairs set up, and it sure helps that I've got some nice hot coffee with me. It's an absolute necessity, especially given that, we're recovering from everyone in my family's recovering from a cold right now. And nice thing about coffee is that I can, make it the way that I would like to have it made, because I'm very much an Ole kind of coffee drinker. Don't let that off-put you if you're not someone who drinks coffee spiked with milk, because I'm here to discuss and insult you as well, given that this coffee is eggnog coffee. working now on a detail that may or may not be used, but it's there if I need to use it later. And I won't know 100% what it's going to look like until I have the pan here or in. Essentially, they want you to go up about 5/8 inch off of the flange of the pan, and then there's going to be a doubled up 2x6. You get that 5/8 inches up, you cut it, and then all the way up from there to 69.5 inches from that spot, you cut the top off. So right now I've just installed this thing partial. I'm going to use the scraps I have here and a couple of others to do this other side, and I'm going to use scraps probably on this side as well. And all that is there for ultimately is to better support a door if we ever put in a shower door from one side to the other. On the other hand, I went ahead and just decided to cut that off now. Use that scrap over here. Had to cut one last piece of board. Little gap in there. It is not going to matter at all for door support, I don't think. But I may go ahead and find a scrap and fill that little spot right there in as well. So we just finalized exactly which shower base we're getting, exactly which shower walls we're getting, and now I can use those installation instructions to make sure that the studs are where they want them to be for installation. And as you might expect, they are not. And we have a double top plate here. However, this center board is holding up a seam in one of the plates. And these are very much load-bearing walls through this whole area here. So I can't really change them too much, at least not that one, because it's on that split and it's on the bottom board. So I'm gonna have to do some thinking on that and try and get this, correct. And part of the reason is this is the height at which there needs to be a cross bracer board. And you can see down here, right there is a board. Right there is where this board is supposed to be according to their layout. And then right down there is also supposed to be a board. And those studs are still gasketed to ensure that the back wall correctly installs. So they need to be in those locations. So we're gonna have to do a little bit of a changeroo here. So looking at it from this side, I've just gone ahead and loosened this out, pulled all the staples, pulled this wire that was through. I'm gonna add this in, and that mostly gets that where it's supposed to be. That one is completely covered. We're gonna add this stud in here, and then this one's gonna be kind of crappy attached, but whatever. I may put a top piece in and then nail into the top piece. That would work. This one laminate, this one laminate. And the nice thing is, so long as these are nice and plumb and not bulging that way, I can nail this in to this one and this one, which are good studs. I selected everything for the bathroom originally, trying to make sure that they wouldn't interfere with the walls that were going to be, because I knew there was going to be a shower there. So I'm going to take this one up, and we're bringing it all the way up to 52 inches from 48. And the reason we're going to 52 from 48 is we've got a 3.5 inch board that's going to be sitting on the back side there. And that will let it butt right up against this piece. Actually, it's going to miss that. So yeah, we're golden on there. locked in. Got the two little sill gasket backer pieces there and the boards that would be needed for it on that side, which is the back. Over here, I've got this funny little situation where I've got a little bitty sandwiched. That board goes all the way up, but I didn't want to have to remove it. So it's just gonna stay. I don't think it'll cause a problem. Hopefully not. Find out later, I guess. And then this side, we've got that ready and set in place. And the only thing I don't yet know is this is for the wall. It's not for a support or a tie-in for the mixer. And then I'll need something on the back up there for the shower head. That's right here. So we'll get that done tomorrow, hopefully. Hi. Did you drive off?
Just to take the meal to the post. In the hopes that it might go out today.
Yeah.
I was several hours later than I thought I would be. It's okay. Trying to wrangle boys and doing things.
Oh, they're very hard to wrangle, aren't they?
Yes. Brought you some coffee if you wanted it.
Thank you.
Must be a little
Oh, no, I'm actually sweating.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, quite warm. I am well layered. Getting this little shower stall ready.
Mm-hmm.
I'm prepping it as though someday we may do the shower door instead. A nice little shower. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.